Everyone's. Mel looked like he was running through a horror movie or something.
I know, really.
I was like, okay.
I look like I was what?
Running through a horror movie.
Like,
I was. I was trying to get away from Glenn.
Really?
You were running to your demise, is the way it seemed like. How's everybody doing on Happy Thursday?
Happy Thursday,
everyone. Aren't y'all excited? New night,
super excited.
New people going to be added to the audience, all that good stuff. You know,
I'm very excited.
Y'all seeming a little dry for me. You seeming.
I don't know. I'm super excited. I got my popcorn ready and everything.
I see you really did bring popcorn, huh?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching. Of course, we ask that you share to your Facebook pages and do us a solid and help us increase our viewership by sharing the show if you're rocking with us and enjoying it. I'd like to introduce you to these three gentlemen. Robert Hazzard, the lover of life, professional consultant. Glenn Murray, the creator of the Wine Crawl, the co-partner. You got something to do with 220 Communications and G Rose Productions and all that kind of stuff. I don't think you really do anything. They just give you a title because you're kind of good looking.
I'm a figurehead. Is that what you're saying?
You're a figurehead. Get it? Figurehead. Okay.
Figurehead.
Mel Roberson, local actor in Chicago, serial entrepreneur, a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and of course, a 173-time best-selling author on Amazon.
174, get it right.
Yeah, after this past weekend. Right. And I am your host, Shawn Mason, professional photographer, singer, writer, blogger, soon-to-be author, and glad to be the host of Live from the Cave. We're honored tonight. We have Khalid Scott joining us. Khalid comes with a wealth of stuff. I mean, like too much to mention, but I do know that he's a licensed clinical social worker. He is a lecturer. He is a professor. He's a dad. He's a marriage therapist. He's something else that I can't read my writing down here.
He's got way too many titles to be a guest on this show. He's making us look bad. I don't know that we need to bring him on.
He can't be too close a friend of mine. He's clearly too cultured. Production team, do us a big favor and bring in our guest for the evening, Khalid Scott. Yeah, you had to throw that last part in, didn't you, Raj? I know you do. You had to throw the Alpha Phi Alpha in there, you know. That's all right.
Right.
You know what? I vote that we found a new Raj. Like, we could do this like Lionel on the Jeffersons. They replaced Lionel. Did nobody know the difference? He stayed Lionel.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
We can play a little 2-on-2 basketball or something, the Noobs against the Alphas. You know, we can do something, you know. How you doing, man? How you doing, Khalid?
I am doing well, gentlemen, and thank you for having me on your forum. This is such a pleasure, and I always love fellowshipping with my brothers every day, all day. So thank you for having me.
Hey, man, we're honored to have you. I didn't see the whole thing, but I did get a chance to see a lot of your time on Janice's show, and thought you represented yourself quite nicely. Didn't even realize until maybe an hour or so ago that you were the same guy that I watched on that show. I just hadn't put it together. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I just watched him. I think Glenn, he said something like, you know, you were on Janice's show. And I was like, is that who I saw on Janice's show? Yeah, man. So our pleasure, man. You are now officially a part of the Cave, man. And we look forward to when we get the chance to have you back after tonight, as long as Glenn doesn't do anything to get the show canceled.
Really?
We're at risk of that every week.
Okay, Pot with the calling the kettle black. Thank you.
I hope everybody brought their popcorn for tonight.
Hey man, I'm going light. I'm drinking Jim Beam Orange tonight, and I'm not trying to like last night. Last night I was so tight. I got up this morning and realized I left my shoes on the back deck. I looked out, went to water my plants, and I was like, my shoes are out here. How did that happen?
Blackout drinking, Shawn. We told you about that. We done warned you.
Absolutely. Hey man, we got a lot of stuff to unpack tonight. Some of the stuff is because you see the 1906 running around at the bottom of the.
I love it. Love the respect. Absolutely.
We're gonna have a problem, Roger, in just a minute.
I told you we can get a new one, a new Raj. That's easy.
Right,
that was a common name. That's like Smith and Jones. It's a common name.
Hey man, things jumped off so intensely last week that all the things we wanted to talk about we didn't even get to, and so I would like to, if you guys will indulge me, I would like to start with the Derek Chauvin sentencing because we never really got to that, and I have some pretty strong feelings about it. I don't think that they are going to differ very much from what the group of you probably think about it. But I'd like to start with Glenn. What you felt about it, if you're still feeling something about it, what was your takeaway from it?
So I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was second-degree murder. Was that the charge?
Mm-hmm.
So what constitutes first-degree murder?
I think you had to be intentional. That had to be your goal. You had to be intending to kill the person.
Okay. So yeah. So it's almost involuntary. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I guess for second-degree murder, what was it? 22 years, 23 years?
Yeah, 22 and a half, I think. Something like
so
that.
He'll do what, 10 to 12? Maybe?
15 is what they're saying.
15 max. Okay. Then I guess that's what you get for second-degree murder. I think there's a bigger issue with qualified immunity for cops, because that's a huge issue where you can't file civil suits and things like that against cops directly. I think if a cop lies about apprehending you or anything in this police report, I think that should eliminate qualified immunity. I mean, I would think so. You would think, because he perjured himself. So there was there was so many other things happening with that. But I guess for second degree murder, that fit the crime.
Yeah, my only problem with the second degree part of it is that, while they can say he didn't intend to kill him, it's clear that he didn't care if he did. It was almost like he knew that there was a risk. There are people screaming at him, saying you're killing him, and he clearly didn't care if he did. Robert, did you have any particular feeling about it?
No, not really. I think that as Glenn's already articulated, the whole thing with police getting immunity and things like that. I think we struggle with that.
Mm-hmm. Mel, what about you? You've got some. Part of legal is part of your kitty, and so
So we went from not seeing police convictions at all to now seeing police convictions. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's going to take a lot more reform and other things for the justice system to realize that there has to be a higher level of accountability for people who commit crimes. Take aside the fact that he was a police officer abusing his power. If this person was someone kneeling on the neck of someone else, take the badge and the gun and all of that other stuff off, what would his sentence have been? And I think that's how things need to be looked at, regardless of what the particular situation was in this case, because this wasn't a accidental death. This wasn't I was trying to apprehend a criminal who was resisting and this is the end result of it. This was a deliberate 8 minutes plus, whatever minutes, seconds it was, of him taking the life on the world's stage. And so that being considered, they say the punishment should fit the crime. I don't personally believe that it did. I also believe that if this was a black cop kneeling on the neck of a white individual, that the white individual would be alive because he would have been tackled. He would have been knocked off. Something would have happened from another cop or somebody else, And so all of those things considered, man, with the abuse of power that we see in the lives that are being taken, of unarmed Black people, I think it's a step in the right direction, but the direction is the Great Wall of China, and we're on the second step.
Khalid, what are your thoughts, brother?
Well, as someone who has like a village of police officer friends, and my friends are African American police officers, and I talk with them because for me, I want to be educated to where their mindsets are. And of course, Black officers are going to have a slightly different mindset than Caucasian police officers, but there's still a line of connection. And I piggyback on and confirm with everything that Mel said. In addition, I want more preventive interventions in place for police officers. So I'm biased. I'm a clinician. And what happens is police officers don't go into counseling like I think they should be. I think it should be mandatory that police officers multiple times during a year should be sitting with therapists because their job is very difficult, very stressful. And you compile that with the stereotypes and the mood in our society. These men and women need help. And if they do commit crimes, they should be held accountable because they know better. They know better. They're trained.
Absolutely.
There's so much police reform that goes in. And so you know better as a cop. But again, your ego, your conceit, your arrogance kicks in and you like, I got this power, I'm going to utilize it. But I really wish police officers would really get more therapeutic support because they need it. They absolutely need it. Because if we can stop them on that end, or we can handle it from that end, then we might have better outcomes in the streets.
Yeah, I'm like you in the sense that I have an extraordinary amount of friends that are on the job. And so it affected me a different way back in the day. I was quicker to have those conversations, but I'll be honest with you. I had a couple of conversations behind Sandra Bland's death that made me say I would never have another conversation with a cop friend of mine about anything inflammatory ever again. It was just so disappointing. But what I wanted to really say was when he got sentenced, I'm a big boxing fan. And when he got sentenced, I couldn't help but think of Michael Nunn. And if anybody is a boxing fan or knows any boxing history, in about 2002, Michael Nunn, he had been one of the most accomplished middleweight fighters ever. I mean, he was like in line to be the greatest, right? Crazy boxer, crazy skills. He ended up being arrested on a drug trafficking charge in 2002, I want to say. And I forget what state he was in at the time. It might have been Philly. I'm not sure. But that boy got 24 years in 2002 for a nonviolent crime. And then I watched this man publicly murder this Black man and get less time than he did 20 years ago for a drug charge. And so that was, I like Mel mentioned about the progress. I'm all about appreciating that, respecting it. I'll be honest and say I'm so tired and exhausted of the slow walking. Yes. And we're so exhausted that we're kind of okay. As long as we see some kind of progress, we kind of say, okay, well, we got something, and I'm weary of it. I'm like, look, y'all got to start doing this shit right. 22 years this man was taken from his family in front of people. There are people that were watching that'll never be the same, much less his family. And so, I'm glad that he got something, but I am gravely disappointed because the maximum he could have gotten was 40, and I think he'd have done 30. That's what he did was worth the maximum. So there is some hope. There is a civil suit still pending. And so there is some hope for some true accountability. And, we can pray or hamdu Allah or cross our fingers or whatever you do as an individual to see how that goes. But on that same token, man, let's talk about Bill Cosby. And I had to educate myself on that. It's such a volatile thing. I really don't want to get into, what I think about his guilt or his innocence or anything like that. But what I will say is that, you got to do stuff right. And he got out because things weren't done right. There were promises made about what his civil penance would be if he testified freely, and that they could not charge him when he was criminally charged. There was not enough evidence to support some of the charges. And so they said, well, look, when your civil court case comes, you can speak freely. We've already set it in stone. You cannot be held accountable for anything you share in your civil trial. And he shared those things, shared some things that were incriminating, and then they arrested him and charged him. And so that's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? Like, they made that deal. They didn't keep it. He gets to walk free. What your feeling is on his innocence or not is moot, really, because it was a process thing that caused it. It wasn't a perception thing that caused it. It was a process thing that caused it. So you look like you had some feelings about it, Khalid. Talk to me.
Yes, I'm torn, gentlemen, and I can be very honest. Bill Cosby was my father figure. I did not have a dad in the house. So him and James Evans Sr. were my dads. And Bill Cosby's character was more prolific because his character made me want to marry a beautiful Black woman who was educated, get my education, live in a brownstone or a dream house, drive a nice car, raise beautiful kids who were accomplished. And from high school to college to my career, I mirrored Heathcliff Huxtable. So that's where the conflict comes. Then, you got to separate the man from the character. But then on the other side, gentlemen, I have a beautiful 18-year-old daughter who's going away to college. What if someone gave my daughter a drug in her drink and took advantage of her? So that's where, oh my goodness, that's where it's so. I have a lot of ambivalence.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Glenn,
what are your thoughts, Glenn?
Without going too deep into it, I believe the women. Period.
Well, I'm not really talking about his guilt or not. I'm talking about the fact that he's out.
Well, it's a technicality. And I get that. It's a messed up technicality because the first prosecutor should have pursued criminal charges. Because he didn't pursue criminal charges, but he gave the civil trial precedent, it really set him up because that was supposed to be a sealed document that never got out. A new prosecutor comes in and says, wait a minute, this should have been tried the right way the first time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back and try him again.
But there was supposed to be some evidence issues as well, though, in that criminal trial that didn't hold up.
Yeah, and I don't know, but I don't think they had as many women that had come forth at that time. And I think that was the difference. The difference in the second trial was the number of women that came forth to testify about the exact same situation, same setup and everything, 20 and 30 years apart. So I think it was a total of 70 women. 70 women can't get together and tell the same story. They don't just wake up every day and say, I'm going to frame Bill Cosby. Yeah, I think I'm going to tell the same story.
Agreed. I know a number of them were proven to have been paid.
That's what I've heard. That's what we were saying in the green room, that like 10 people were paid.
Yeah.
And I don't know, about that, but I just don't know that 70 women can make up the same. If 2 women told you that story about me, you'd believe them. Why does it need to be 70 for Bill Cosby?
I wouldn't believe them if they told me that about you. Robert Hazzard, did you have any thoughts about it at all?
You guys have hit it. I mean, I think it's we look at Bill was a public figure, on the Cosby Show, and we want to see good things, but I mean clearly that's not him. in real life. But as we've talked about already, I think that, as Glenn said, all these women, whether they're paid or not, it's a dishonor. I have a daughter too, and I would feel some kind of way about some strong kind of way about that if she was drugged by somebody else as well.
Yeah,
so
it raises
it's a tough thing.
Neil, let me hear from you before I share this other question with you guys. What do you think about it?
You can share the other question. My mouth is full.
What I want to know is he was blind. He was halfway blind with a cane, but when he got out, he looked like he was ready to run and be on Jesse White's tumblers.
That video was so funny, man. Couldn't step while he was walking. I was tickled.
Yeah.
But let me.
He got out sea walking out the car though. He was.
You guys raise an interesting question, and that's
because I'm out now. I'm free.
What is the expectation, man, when it comes to being able to separate a man and his human frailty from his contribution to society? How do you navigate that? Because that's been a constant struggle with the Bill Cosby situation. I saw that as a struggle with Jesse Jackson when he had the outside child. Of course,
Robert Kelly.
Yeah, Robert Kelly's. How do you navigate that, man? I sometimes I struggle with feeling like we have to denounce that person's contribution because of their human frailty. You can still hold them accountable, but still be at peace with their contribution to society. What are your thoughts about that, Khalid?
You hit the target on the head, man. Is that you'd have to know how to separate the two. So let me give you for instance, about a month or two ago, the Derrick Jackson thing blew up. And, people found out that he was married and he had committed adultery on his wife. Well, for the last 3 years, we tune in and hear this wonderful advice he gives our sisters. And so when people started to, attack his character, I said, wait a minute. Separate the man from the message. All of his messages were spot on to women, especially. But he is a man with flaws, and guys, I've said this often.
Flaws in different area codes.
Right. and I've said this often. I get in trouble, especially with my brothers, but all men cheat. That is my hypothesis. That's what I know to be true. And I stick with that. And when you understand that, and what I mean by that is every man has the capability of doing something that he should not do. Because why? We're human. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. So the thing is, you got to learn how to. That's why I said I love the character Heathcliff Huxtable, and I say it out loud: Heathcliff Huxtable, not Bill Cosby.
Right. Yeah, I have to say this, and of course, we won't jump in the ring on it, but I vehemently disagree with the all men cheat.
Okay.
But I understand your philosophy behind it. I would say that what you're describing is a human frailty, and so if you're going to say all men cheat, it would seem fairer to me to say all people cheat or have the capacity to cheat. I don't think, I think that if there's any predisposition men would have to it, is because we're raised as the hunter in society. Right. And so we might have a greater predisposition to it, but I've been cheated on. So I know women cheat as well,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what you did when you double cross.
Don't hit Mel trigger. You trigger Mel. Now his mouth is empty. Now he's talking. I think the bottom line, though, Shawn, is that we need to stop deifying this, because not every black man that goes to jail is Nelson Mandela. Let's just be real about it.
Yeah, but not every one of them did what they were accused of either.
No, not every one of them.
So
but we can't. What about everything? Because everybody was like, when he went to jail, everybody was, what about Harvey Weinstein? Well, Harvey Weinstein's in jail. He's about to go to trial for rape for like the 4th time in a whole different state.
Yeah, see, I'm not a whataboutism person, but I am a person who will acknowledge how programmed we can be and how things can look one way and be another way. And which is why I've never really said I thought OJ did it or didn't do it. I've never said I thought Bill did it or didn't do it. What I will say is I know a whole bunch of situations that look very much like one thing. And then if you had some inside track, you would find out that despite how it looks, that's not what it was. And so, you know, I'm at peace with how it plays out, you know what I'm saying? But for me, I always go, if I didn't see it happen myself with my own eyes, you know, I'll let everybody else, you know, decide. I did not like that people like Dennis Miller and Rosie O'Donnell were on shows talking about, he's a murderer, he's a murderer. If you were in a van across the street and you watched them do it, then you should say that. But if there is any space for you to be incorrect, I think that's a very powerful statement to make, you know, based on what you're being fed, you know. So that's just my take on it.
I think that, you know, I do kind of push back on every man cheats, because I think when we're in situations as we get older or wiser per se, or we want to the relationship, we want to preserve it. I think that there are men that know how, you know, to keep their situation honorable. Let me just say that. I don't want to. This is a PG show, but I think that.
Oh no, it's always PG now.
Is it a PG show?
Yeah, I'll be PG on that topic, but I think that, you know, I think you said it. All people have the propensity to cheat. Right.
Yeah.
So let's use that, because I don't want these women to be coming around saying now that, you know, Robert is a cheater or has the, you know, that he's cheated and all that sort of stuff. And I think when we do that as society, because this is social media, right? And so then people start labeling, you know, us, because I know some good men, you know, today, as all of you do, that aren't practicers of that.
Well, we're not trying to butt heads with Khalid here. We're just
I know. He's
and I would right to his opinion about.
I do disagree that this is the word propensity. Walk in R rating.
Yeah, I would even redirect the word propensity, because propensity means that you lean towards a certain type of behavior or in a certain direction. Ability, yes. Propensity, I wouldn't say that. Say that. I think it has a lot to do with what your personal beliefs are, and how you let societal views affect you. So to throw the word propensity out there as a blanket statement for people to have the desire or longing to cheat or whatever, I think there's a disconnect there personally.
So while we're on that, we might as well segue into a bit of relationship talk. You know, we've got a couple of relationship topics that I think could probably be an hour worth of conversation. And I want to give some love to the local version of Hitch, Inyatu Marvel, who's been a guest on the show a couple of times. And I was tuning into Inyatu's inaugural Clubhouse room hosting. And so I wanted to make sure that I give him credit for this question. But this was the question that was asked. Is your ideal relationship blocking you from your real relationship? Is your ideal relationship blocking your real relationship? Robert, since you have the most relationship experience.
When I first, I'm gonna tell
you. Saw what I did, Khalid. You saw what I did.
Yeah, but when I first met Khalid, and I told him that I had just gotten divorced, and and that I was gonna do it again, he's like, if you may remember, you said this to me, that must be my ministry. But marriage must be my ministry, right? And so, and I
there's all new meaning for marriage ministry.
Man, Father Robert, I know, really, Father Robert.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, and it still is my ministry, and I still believe it. I just had to throw that out there, Shawn. I don't even remember what you just asked me, brother. I'm gonna just tell you.
I asked you, is your ideal relationship blocking. You're not gonna be like Glenn, try to skirt the question.
I only skirt questions I don't want to answer. Okay.
Is your ideal? Well, those would be the ones you skirt, Glenn.
Oh, you caught that. Okay, you caught that.
Is your ideal relationship like I only drink on days that end in Y? Is your
every day,
Monday, Friday, Saturday? Is your ideal relationship blocking you from your real relationship? Is the question, Mr. Hazzard?
Well, I'm still in therapy, so I'm just going to say yes. It probably is because I have this ideal piece of relation or how I want things to play out, which is why I've been married before. And I'm determined to do that. So I think that it is blocking it, and I have to do a better job of looking at the situation and just being real. Some things are a struggle.
Well, let me ask you this. This isn't to get too deep in your business, but I know you're pretty free about sharing.
Why stop now?
Right. What are some of those things that you think that are ideal that you're holding on to that might be some things that theoretically you could free yourself up from? What do some of those things look like? And Mel, I'm coming at you next, so I want you ready.
Well, a perfect marriage that I saw my parents do, and when I say perfect, it's just the ideal piece of what I saw coming up is much like they stuck together through thick and thin. They knew how to navigate disagreements so that my sisters and I would not see them go at it. Trying to practice those things in today's world or even in my previous marriage was difficult because everybody comes from a different place. Their lenses are different. So commitment is different. So, so it's blocking me. So pray for me, brothers. Go and pray for me.
Yeah. You really didn't answer the question, but I'm gonna let you go. Neil, talk to me.
So give me the question again so that I may answer it correctly.
The question is your ideal relationship blocking your real relationship?
I would say no, because I know that my ideal relationship includes flaws. I'm not one to believe that a relationship is going to be perfect, peaches and cream. All the relationships are more guns and roses than peaches and cream.
Right? I like that. Very
so there's going to be that, but I am a firm believer that you're absolutely right, Roger. I am dropping some intellectual shit. I'm a firm believer that relationships fail because of poor communication and unmet expectations. And in a lot of situations, the communication isn't even there to let the other party know what your expectations are. So now we're holding against our mate some ideology that they don't even know is a thing for us, right? Because we had this expectation of what they should do, how they should be, how they should communicate. They don't even know what my love language is, but I'm expecting them to operate in what fills my tank, and I haven't even told them what it is. So I don't think that my ideas of a perfect relationship are holding me back from a relationship. In all actuality, I just need love, trust, loyalty, respect, communication, and some amazing sex, and I'd be good. You know what I mean? Support is a good part of it too, man. If I could be a cheerleader for them and they could be a cheerleader for me, and it's like we talk about expectations and communication. And there's a certain level of, because I'm a Pareto principle person with everything, it's an 80-20 thing. If I can get that 80% and deal with the other 20, as long as it's not weighted so heavily that the 20% is within my deal breakers, then we can figure this thing out.
Yeah, you speak something very powerful, man, about our inherent tendency to test the person that we're dating. It's almost like we're setting them up to fail. They don't know the ins and outs and bells and whistles and little, nuances that would really feed us. And it's almost like when you're first somebody's lover and they don't want to tell you the things that take them to their zenith, and they're content for you to hit all the wrong buttons until you find it, like there's some kind of badge and talk to me and tell me what it is. So I think we tend to do that. Khalid, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think in any good relationship, you need components of both. You need to you have that level of optimism, dream, fantasy, and along with deal with the realities of the relationship. Because if you don't have both, your relationship becomes stale. Okay. If I'm not optimistic during the bad days, then I'm going to up and leave. If I'm not realistic and only think about the fantasy woman in a fantasy relationship, then I'm going to go and have a divorce. So you need both. And gentlemen, I counsel married couples every week. And these people who are supposed to love each other have to pay me $95 an hour to remind them that they love each other. Remind them of why they got together. Remind them of the fun. Remind them of the first dates, and have to reteach them how to appreciate, value, and honor each other. Because they keep it too real. You know what I'm saying? So I'm letting them know, go back to the fundamentals. Think about what you feel you need to be for yourself first. And then when you got yourself right and tight, then you can give your mate what they need, and vice versa. So you really need both. You really need both.
I agree with you that there doesn't, and I hadn't thought about that until you phrased it that way. I think that you can have some of both of those. You can have some of your ideal with your real. I think that you mentioned being realistic, and that is probably at the core of it. But I think that there is a degree of fantasy that you can still have when you're in the midst of reality. Yes, sir, Mel.
So here's the thing. I'm fucking amazing, right? Like, I am fucking amazing. Exactly. I got amazing on my wall. I got t-shirts that say go be. I'm fucking amazing.
I'm just amazing. Mel is fucking amazing.
Right. So if that's the case, and I know that I can be amazing for somebody else, and that's, even though that's ideal, that's real. That's really who I am. So that ideal who for somebody else who's amazing as well is possible for me.
Yeah.
It's definitely possible.
I think that there is an unspoken component that's inherent in the question, which is, are you allowing fantasy to keep you from very realistic?
But I get what Mel is saying. I get
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Maybe not with the R-rated statement, but I get what he's saying. It's like, okay, I'm giving you the best that I got. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Anita Baker. But I'm coming to this with 110%. And if you're coming with 30%, then that's not ideal. And I'm sorry, that is not what I want. And I'm not making any more apologies for that.
I think. Here's the thing, Glenn. I believe you never have to make an apology, because
I'm a firm believer in never apologizing anymore.
Well, at the end of the day, if there's a price to be paid,
damn it,
you're the only one that's going to pay that price. So why would you apologize? For the people that you passed up. Right. There is a price to be paid. That's your price and nobody else's.
But there's a but, Shawn. There's a but, because I had this ideal out of central casting on what the relationship should be. And I needed to also look at myself and look at my flaws. My flaws may not be as evident as somebody else's, but I still have flaws.
Really?
I know what I did. So I need to be honest about that too. So I had to meet in the middle between my expectation and my reality, my own reality, to find my happy medium.
Yeah.
And it takes work to do that. It takes work for all of us.
It takes humility.
And humility.
Well,
yes.
And we have to get rid of the ego. So let's we've got a therapist here, ladies and gentlemen, so that we can talk about, relationships and things like that. Now, let's not assume that people that are getting married are not having these conversations about what the expectations are for this arrangement. Because if you are, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because people are having these kind of conversations about what they expect, what their expectations are, and what my expectations are, and we meet in the middle, and then we move forward in terms of this relationship. So I think that, you know, that's the biggest thing. But what I think we need to talk about, or somebody needs to talk about at some point, is getting premarital counseling before we get married, because we all spend, or at least did, you know, quite a bit of money on marriages, you know, on weddings and things like that. And then afterwards, you know, it goes downhill. So something is happening in between. And each of us come to the table to say, you know, it's just like hiring, like Illinois is an at-will state. You know, you start out this way and you can change later and they could terminate your relationship. Marriage now has become one of those things where we're saying, you know what, the paper we thought held us together because we had a contract, we agreed, and for better or for worse, people now take that out of the vows, by the way. You know, sickness and health, they rewrite the vows and everything to fit them. I think that that's where the problem is. And so I agree with the 80-20, you know, because it's an up and down. You know, some days I don't like you and you don't like me, you know, but we have this commitment that we're going to move forward. Well, that's really it.
Robert, you're deep tonight. Robert, what are you drinking?
Man, I'm drinking
tonight.
I'm drinking Gentleman's Jack, but you know, Khalid knows this as well. You know, Gottman is a counselor that provides some direction on how we can get together. You know, the 4 horsemen, once that comes up, you know, in the relationship, you know, if you've had those problems already, it's hard to turn that ship around.
Khalid, have you done premarital counseling?
I'm done with this part, though.
Yes, I participated in it prior to me getting married, and I have done it with couples. Yes.
Have you ever recommended a couple not get married after what you discovered in their premarital counseling?
Yes. Yes. And of course you have to be delicate about that, because you got this couple. It's just like when you buy a new house, you can hear that it's termites and there's something wrong with the furnace, but because you're so excited about buying the house, you like, I'll deal with that later.
Right.
And so what I've told a couple literally is like, put it off 6 months. Put it off 6 months so you can be married forever, because you don't want to end up on the 30th floor at the Daily Center. You know, and folks look at me like, huh, what's that? I said, that's divorce court.
Oh, is that divorce court? Okay.
Yes.
Yep. I know it too well. I knew where you were going with that. You know, and I'm not proud to say that. I'm not proud. No, I ain't even going there. You know, I ain't even going there. Don't. And it's expensive.
I'm so done. I'm so done.
Moving right along, son. Moving along before Robert starts drinking.
Put the sweet number in the chat. Put the sweet number. You know, one thing that I am I'm adamant about is people not modifying the realities that I know because they don't want to accept them as realities. And so I thought it was so amazing that one of the ladies in that room that night was very candid. She said, and this is the direction I think the original question was designed to go. She was like, hey, you know, I have a height issue. She's like, I've met some amazing men, but because of their height, I chose not to pursue them. And I'm not proud of it. It was stronger when I was younger. And then she said, and I admit that I still struggle with it. And so they all kind of pounced on this chick. And like, so if you met a multimillionaire, and he was 5'3", and yeah, and they pounced all on her, and I sat back and wanted to give her a hug, because most people are too fearful to speak their truth when they know they're gonna get attacked like that. I'm a short guy, so I've been rejected because of my height, and I still wanted to just celebrate her for being vulnerable and open like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you like what you like, you know? And like I told Glenn or whoever it was earlier, whoever you pass up, that's a price you pay, you know? And so my original direction with the question was, I'm sure all of us have encountered an amazing person that missed something that we really wanted, you know, and it might be in hindsight that we can go, wow, that thing that I let keep us from moving forward, maybe at this stage of my life doesn't carry the weight that it had at that time. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's really at the core of that question is your ideal, you know, that ideal relationship keeping you from your real relationship, because some people are a lot more open to their mate coming to them packaged in a way that resembles nothing that they fantasized about. And then other people can't see that. If the packaging is too different than what they've always envisioned, then they won't be able to see it. They don't even want to meet somebody who doesn't, you know, line up with what their physical, you know, expectation was. So it's a real tricky thing. But if I knew that sister, I would shout her out and tell her that I was proud of her for standing, you know, in her truth and being willing to accept what energy she got from it, you know.
Right. And I hope men can stand in their truth too about that.
Yeah.
You don't like. I like smart models. I'm standing in my truth. That's all I got. Sorry.
Well, I heard that that's all that pursues you, Glenn. So you shouldn't.
Well, yeah.
That's my Aries brother. Go on, man. Tell
Hey, man, we got about.
He didn't say what type of models.
I said smart, Mel.
Hand and feet models, Mel. Is what.
Right.
Hey, we got about 9 or 10 minutes left, man, and
Wow.
yeah, it goes fast, Khalid. It goes fast, man. Let's ring out this last question, man, that we were talking about, and that is, what did you learn from your greatest relationship heartbreak?
I'm going last. Don't even call me. I'm telling you right now. I'm going last on that one.
Mel, you need a minute to get it all together. Or can you give it to me now?
You know, it's crazy because, oh God, like if I don't know what my greatest relationship heartbreak was. Like every relationship, huh?
I know mine.
Every relationship has taught me something, but each heartbreak has been different. I mean, my most recent serious relationship, that was the most disappointing because, you know, I had stepkids and an engagement ring and all of that stuff. So it was extremely disappointing because I thought that I was going to spend the rest of my life with this woman. And I did learn a ton.
It was connected to the expectation that you had created.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I don't miss her. I miss the possibility of what it was. You know, like I miss the plans that I had for her. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know, my evolution, man. But I think if I had to say it, it was my high school sweetheart from my senior year in high school. She was in college while I was in high school. And I think the greatest thing that I learned is to allow people to love me, because I didn't allow her to love me. I figured out, I was so busy thinking about all of the reasons why, you know, if she's in college and I'm in high school, why is she with me? And why does she do this for me? And why does she feel this way about me? And I mean, it was in hindsight that I learned this lesson, but I had to learn. And I can't say that I learned it even after I realized it. It took me a while to get to the point where I honestly allowed people to love me. And yeah, and that wasn't my greatest heartbreak per se, because I've had some that hurt a lot more since her, but that was my greatest lesson. And she is the prototype. She did become the prototype. You know, I do base a lot of stuff off of her. So
yeah, I get it, Robert.
Man, that's deep. Woo, Mel, how do I
know. I'm sorry. I hate I brought this up. Can I get a excuse from this?
No, you are next.
You know, the greatest heartbreak. Is that the question?
Well, not the greatest heartbreak, but what did you learn from the greatest relationship heartbreak?
The lawyers are expensive. Divorce,
that's fair.
That's what you learned.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not the best at, at loving, or moving a relationship or a marriage in the right direction. So it could be ego for me, and it probably is ego for me because as a man, again, I'm looking at what I came up with from my father, and my father was a good man in terms of the things that he did for my mother. So I really wanted my last marriage to work, and because it was a story that, boy meets girl, all the sort of stuff, and it's great. And we had a situation where we met before she broke up with me, came back, all that other garbage. But yeah, it taught me that I need to rethink how I do relationships and look at some of the characteristics such as integrity, such as love, and what does it mean to love me? Because I am deserving of love, regardless of anything else. I'm deserving of love, and people have to love me. I have to allow people to love me the right way. I could have stayed in some other relationships, but I chose to do something different. So that's probably my this question provides a trigger moment for me, but
I think you say you're triggered every episode, Robert. You get triggered every
episode when we talk about, because
mine
is mine is so new,
right?
With that, but so
I'm gonna give you a little break then, and I want you to get some water and count to 10, relax, release. I'm gonna let Glenn.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
I think I should be exempt from this since I thought of the question. There needs to be some kind of exemption.
We got about 3 minutes.
That's the reason to get this question. Because you thought of
it. To give me a minute, and then I'm gonna take a minute. So give me a minute on that, Glenn.
All right. So I've learned that love doesn't. The biggest heartbreak was realizing how I felt after the fact, and understanding that love doesn't come packaged the way you want it all the time, and wanting what you want when you want it isn't always good because you've let go of something that was meaningful to you because you wanted it a certain way. And you just, my stubborn self, my younger self, and I think I wrote about this actually in Lessons for the Little Boy, is that sometimes they don't come back when you realize what you've done. And then the heartbreak really starts when you've learned that you really lost them. That's when the heartbreak that's when it truly sinks in. And that's when it reaches in here, whatever side my heart is on. Sometimes I forget, but you really reach in.
The only piece you have is the lesson you learned. I get that. I get it. Khalid, give me a minute, brother.
Okay. I'm going to put a little spin to this one. The greatest heartbreak I've had was not having a father in my life. So that was my relationship heartbreak. But the wonderful thing about not having him present was what I did for this one right here, my daughter. Because I had an absent dad, I understood that I was going to break cycles.
Yeah.
And I've been the best dad for Anaya Scott. I've been the best goddad to 11 children. And I've been the best mentor dad to 25 young men. So one man's decision not to love me caused me to love a village.
So what you learned was to not be him on a grand scale. I love it. Real quick, man, ironically, man, what I learned is that if the hurt is deep enough, you navigate and manage it for the rest of your life, because there are always times that it can resurface. If something reminiscent of that happens, it can resurface, and you have to conquer all those issues. Again, I was hurt by someone who knew what my frailties were, and she was mean. And so whenever she was unhappy, she would attack me in those frailties. And I was a young guy, and those were hard to navigate, because I thought a certain something of her. And so it was hard for me to dismiss truth in what she was saying. And then the irony is that I had a photo shoot this weekend out in Centennial Park. I'm there 30 minutes before my client. I'm walking the park trying to look at things creative I can do, walk right into her and her son. This was way back when I was 22 years old, right?
Wow.
Sometimes the only cure for heartbreak is to love harder the next time. Honestly.
And not let it hold
Boy,
you.
that's the smartest thing you'd have ever said on this show.
Yeah, not
Right.
let it hold you
Hey,
prisoner.
can you repeat that?
Yeah, it only took you a year plus, man.
Well, it took you 64 episodes to say something good.
That was a good one, man. Hey, we
Hey, man, you guys have been awesome.
Man.
Real quick, Khalid, is there anything you can tell us about what you're doing, where you are, where people can find you before we get out of here?
Absolutely. For those seeking therapy, especially married couples, you can find me on www.psychologytoday.com. My telephone number is 312-43-SCOTT, SCOTT, 437-2688. And I'm on all social media outlets.
Awesome. Hey, man, you have been an awesome guest. I hope you understand that we don't always agree. So when we don't agree with you, we don't want you to take it personally. We think that's what the people that watch this show benefit from. That's what they get to know, that we are not all the same. We don't, every lens that black men have is not the same. We don't always see things the same. We don't always navigate things the same. So I want you to be 100% comfortable and confident in when you're challenged on this show about what your position is. And Mel, you leaning forward like you got something for me. You got something you want to say before we get out?
I'm just
iron sharpen iron.
Iron does.
All right, you just need your newbie tonight. I appreciate that.
That's it.
Everybody, thank you for coming with us on this first Thursday night. It was awesome. It was as awesome as I thought it would be. I even made a video, so you know it meant a lot to me.
Great show.
So thank you guys for checking in.
You did a great job, brother.
Yeah.
Khalid, you turned up. We want you back, man. We need you back.
Please do.
Absolutely. So until next Thursday, I'm not used to saying that, but until next Thursday at 9, this has been Live from the Cave. Yo to the Noops.
Yo.
Camped out at home for COVID? Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first. Sign up now for free at Indie TV.